This one comes from QuantumEarwax in our UFOs. As far as you know, is the Intelligence Community Inspector General or the Department of Justice currently conducting an investigation into David Grush's UAP crash retrieval claims? And how many members of Congress are privy to the 11 hours of classified testimony that Grush provided HPSCI and SSCI with before going public? Have attempts been made to make it available to other members of Congress?
Well, I'm at a bit of a disadvantage with respect to this question. I would say, first of all, I'm unaware of any ongoing intelligence community inspector general or Department of Justice investigations into Dave Grush's claims or complaints at this point. And I do not know how many members of Congress in both chambers have accessed and listened to the testimony that Dave provided. And this is mostly because, as far as I know, only the members and staff of the two intelligence committees, one in the House, one in the Senate, have had access to his testimony. And I was not serving on either committee during the in the period since Dave provided that testimony. Whistleblower complaints in the area of national security. There's very strict. Congress handles these things with kid gloves. The last thing that Congress wants is to be accused of political meddling in any IG investigation, and especially for whistleblower complaints. And as a consequence, when whistleblower complaints arise, Congress just backs off and lets the Inspector General process run its course. And so it's a little different for the intelligence committees. They have been sponsors of a lot of whistleblower legislation, and they get access. But the armed services committees do not really. So I'm mostly in the dark on the answer to that question.
A quick follow-up question. In terms of just the conversations that you have had with various Congress people, what are their opinions on David Grush's testimony? Are they frustrated that they haven't been able to hear more from him?
Well, yeah. I mean, I have not personally, by any means, asked any senator about their personal opinions about this. So I can't answer the question with respect to what senators think. Any senators? I do think that there's bound to be some disappointment that the mass of senators have not been able to see specifically what he has asserted. But that's logic and speculation on my part.
This comes from Mige EEE, sorry if I got that wrong, from our UFOs. What's your take on the drone situation happening over the US and previously over the UK? Is it a distractive play from the government? Do you think there's NHI involved in the happenings? Thank you for your time.
I personally do not know either way what it is. I have talked to people that have given me different bits of information, and the problem we have is that, okay, the best thing I can say is this. We have a certain amount of tools out there. Phenom, my app being one of them. There's Nanu, there's Cider, there's several apps out there. And the people that are in those areas where all this incredible stuff is happening, they're not using these tools. So the idea is, how do we get the right information to really give an informative answer of what is really going on? You have one lady told me in particular, and I got it verified through other people that experienced the same thing, that when one of these UASs came down low, she said it was making a helicopter sound.
Hmm.
I was like, all right. So I said, rotors, they're all going to make different types of sound and all that other stuff. She's like, no, Miss Logan. She said, you don't understand. She said, when it came down, she said, I thought I was dealing with a helicopter, so I was looking. But she said, when a helicopter is flying close to you, from the rotors, you feel that bass that hits your chest and you know something's happening. She said, it almost sounded pre recorded because there was no bass. I didn't feel anything. She said it was just there. And then as it came close and then as it moved away, she said, I was like, okay, but something's not right. And then she had to think about it and go, there was nothing there. If there was one thing that I could do, and I'll do a stamp, I would say those mayors, those congressmen, those assemblymen that are out there, I would say, and pass this out to your legal department as well. I would say, grab one of these tools, work with your law enforcement and whoever, and as I said in the movie, collectively we can figure out what's going on. If you don't grab a tool, you're only getting a small part of the information that is out there. We need to know exactly where you were. We need to know the angle. We need to know, are multiple people seeing it from different aspects. We need to know um, the acoustics, the magnetics, the everything possible that we can get. And we need to get it back to smarter people than me to show that we've collected the right data. Now let's figure out what it is. Because it may be that if we get enough information, we go to Congress with the answer and say, here's what's going on because we're doing your job for you because you didn't do it the right the first time. That's what I would probably want people to know. If you're in the area around Northeast or anywhere in the world, if you're really interested in this subject, grab the best tool out there.
Phenom, of course.
Grab a good tool and get out there and get on it and help us collect the data.
Amazing. And people can find that just in the App Store or wherever they buy apps
Yep,
for their
it's
phone?
in both the iOS App Store and the Android App Store. And let's rock and roll.
All right, we will head to our next Redditor question. This one comes from ProjectMagnet from our UFOs. Hey, James, greetings from Canada. Thanks for all the work you've done shining light on this subject. I've been hooked since out of the blue. I was hoping to get your thoughts on the divide between the attitudes of US and Canadian officials, re the UFO subject. Canada's military/government seems pretty dug in their position that they don't see any of this as a threat or military concern. Whereas in the US, we're seeing a lot of intelligence officials, politicians, and military folks emphasizing their belief that there is a clear threat. Given the Canada US partnership with NORAD since the Cold War and information sharing via the Five Eye Alliance, etc., I was wondering what your take might be on why Canada seems to have taken such a different stance on this issue.
That's a good question. No, I would have to say that maybe Logan or could answer that better than I could. But there was a gentleman that just recently passed, and I don't know what he learned in an official capacity, but it was Paul Hellyer. He was the only Canadian official that I personally am aware of that did speak out openly about this. But I'm not sure if it was stuff that he was officially involved with, or if it was he held high positions within the Canadian government and then learned of the UAP phenomenon after his position. I'm not entirely sure on that one. But Logan, do you have an answer for that one, or you'd be way more better qualified than I would be?
Not really. I just figured it's just the way the governments are run that felt strong enough about the situation to step forward, kind of like the Israeli guy that stepped forward and said, there's stuff out there. I think we have had more of a stigma, and now everybody's trying to push back and say, no, there's something really out there. And I just think that even though there was a gentleman that showed up at Seoul the first year from Canada that said he was going to look into all this stuff and was going to do some things. I just think it's just taking them a while to come around. I think if the U.S. fully, blows up, I think Canada's going to be right in there with us and saying, okay, yeah, we need to support this. And I will say that for the app, I've had about 3 different organizations call me from Canada to say, "Hey, how can we help?" And I'm like, "Just give me a second because I'm still trying to figure out a lot of this myself." So I just want to reiterate. I think it's just the government. There's people stuck in their ways, and this is the way it is. And I think now, but slowly, there's a realization that there is something there. And if they're going to be in an alliance with the U.S., they got to start accepting some of this stuff. And I think that's you're going to see a change.